Shadana has been, the uh, president of the Haiti support group here in the UK, and she's been active around left politics in the region for a very long time. So Shadana, please, come on.
Honneur, respect. Afternoon, good morning, everyone, wherever you are. Thank you very much for taking your time out to join us. And thank you very much to Caribbean Labour Solidarity for the invitation to speak with you today. It's nice to be among friends. And also I would like to thank Tamlin for joining me in this very important conversation and for helping me to further understand the status quo in Haiti. I'd also like to thank all of the Haiti support group executive members who have been doing their utmost to ensure that we can continue to share with you. So the format of our presentation will be me talking to politics, the political situation, the economic situation, and development in Haiti, and Tamlin will speak more to the impact on society with what's going on there at the moment. And much of the information that I'm going to share is thanks to Tamlin, alongside other colleagues that we have in Haiti at the Haiti Support Group. And I'm also drawing on the MIT anthropologist Erica Capel-James's work and her concept of the political economy of trauma in Haiti. And she argues there that this, according to her, this concept emerged as a consequence of the 1991 to 1994 coup period. And my intention is not to essentialize Haiti, though some of the information can be triggering, but rather my focus is on truth-telling, community building, and upon discussion, seeing how we can work in solidarity with Haitians. So as you saw from my bio, I'm currently a PhD student at the Institute of the Americas, UCL, and my focus is on reparative justice for people of African descent and indigenous people in Latin America and the Caribbean. So part of this discussion is also talking about this concept of repair, and I'm really looking forward to Tamlin's take on how at the international level, those of us who work in solidarity and advocacy campaigns, what we can do practically to support Haitians. So I do have a presentation, please bear with me. Really hope it works, because it did before, so bear with me. Okay, let me go to presentation. So Haiti politics and society development. So to begin with, excuse me, I'm going to talk a bit about it's going to work. The Haiti Support Group and what we do, for those of you who are not familiar. So some of you might have been with us last year when we celebrated 30 years of working in solidarity with progressive organizations in Haiti, speaking on behalf of the majority who are fighting for democracy, change, and asserting and enjoying their human rights. Sorry, please do check out our website, haitisupportgroup.org, where the core of our work has been through policy analysis, or analysis generally of issues that Haitians want us to share. So you can check those out in our briefing, as well as other events that we've been involved in. Our most recent was supporting the No Sweat campaign, where two of our members, Anthony Stewart and our newest member, oh my goodness, I can't remember her name, sorry. The two of them shared information about the current situation in Haiti, as well as Aida Humer was speaking about her PhD research on sweatshop workers and women's groups in Haiti. So they were both there to talk to that. So please do check out some of the work that we'll be doing. Okay, I want to start with some quick facts about the history in Haiti. Tamlin, please do come in here if I've got any of the dates wrong. I hope not, but I'm sure many of you are familiar with the revolution from 1791 to 1803, with independence coming in 1804, Haiti being our first Black republic, but then that dream of independence being shattered by the French in 1825 with not recognizing Haiti's independence and thus demanding financial reparations for property, right? In terms of wanting what the French had built in Haiti back, wanting financial compensation for that, demanding 90 million gold francs. And as of 2004, that amount had equal to 21 billion US dollars, or from 2003. And that amount actually compounds at $34 per second. So the claim for reparations would be a lot more in 2023. Interventions, which I'm sure we're going to talk about later on in this presentation, and occupations. The US first intervened, another country that didn't recognize Haiti's independence in 1915 to 1954, and then a second occupation from 1991 to 2004. And 1991 was Jean-Bertrand Aristide administration being the first democratically elected head of state in Haiti. In 2003, we have the Ottawa Initiative, where France, Canada, the United States meet and essentially talk about how they can intervene in Haiti. Then a year later, we have the UN Security Council Resolution 1529, where they're talking about how to insert the UN into Haiti, essentially an occupation, peacekeeping occupation. And then from 1993 to 1996, we have the United Nations mission in Haiti. And the acronyms keep changing. So MINUSTA, MINUS, just, and now we have the BINU, which I'm going to talk about a bit later. And whenever we're talking about Haiti, you will hear the core group being mentioned. And this refers to special representatives from the United Nations, ambassadors of Brazil, Canada, United States, Europe, who essentially dominate conversations on what politics are going to look like in Haiti. So that was a very quick rundown of some key dates and key figures that are operating in Haiti. So now I'm going to talk a bit about politics, and I'm going to start with the figure of Jovenel Moïse. And for those of you who joined me in the last presentation that I had with Caribbean Labour Solidarity, I did use this slide, and there, you know, we spoke to Jovenel Moïse kind of being an unknown figure until he was handpicked by Michel Martelly, his predecessor, to replace him as part of the Parti Haitien Tête Calée, which translates as the bald-headed party or skin-headed party, if you want to go that far. And this particular party has support from the United States, from Canada, and from France. And during Jovenel Moïse's administration, there was a lot of disruption during his administration, because voter turnout before he was actually elected was very low, and subsequently as well. And his term actually should have ended in February of 2021, but he he continued his mandate because he used the excuse of the COVID-19 pandemic, the situation of insecurity as an excuse not to, well, to boycott elections, essentially. And during his administration, he actually dissolved Parliament because of failing to hold elections throughout his mandate. And that meant the country was left without a legislative branch. And so following the dissolution of the parliament, Moïse had been ruling by decree and effectively was governing Haiti all alone. And as we know, he was assassinated by Colombian mercenaries who were in collusion with Haitian Americans, and that case is still ongoing, hasn't been resolved. So he was assassinated on the 7th of July, 2021. So during his administration, as I mentioned, Haitians took to the street in protest against the running corruption that was occurring during his mandate, and against this embezzlement of funds. And those particular funds would have been the particular Petrocaribe scandal. And the Petrocaribe was a program instituted by the former president of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez, where he provided other Caribbean countries for social programs. And this, these funds should have been used to, for the social good, essentially. And Haiti, for example, only had to pay 60% for the oil it received, while the remaining 40% should have been directed and funneled to developing the Haitian country and people. But unfortunately, these funds disappeared into the wilderness, and an estimated $2 billion went missing from the Haitian coffers. And perhaps later, Tamlin could, if she wishes, go into detail about that particular scandal and what that looked like on the streets. But the picture that I've got here is basically asking, where did this Petrocaribe money go? Where did it disappear to? And that was a campaign that not only took place on the streets in Haiti, but also Twitter. That was a hashtag that I've got there on the slide, Copco Petrocaribe. So upon the unfortunate assassination of Jovenel Moïse, we have Claude Joseph, who self-nominates as or self-appoints himself as prime minister to start governing Haiti. And he was the former minister of foreign affairs. And initially, Claude Joseph had the backing of the military and the United States. But shortly before, 2 days, I believe, before Moïse's death, Moïse had actually nominated Ariel Henry, who we see on the right here, to take the position as prime minister. But then that did not formally take place. Moïse was assassinated. Henri Joseph took the reins as prime minister, and then stepped down when there was essentially a campaign to say this isn't right. Henri is installed as the prime minister with backing from the US, and since the 21st of July 2021, Ariel Henry has been governing Haiti as its sole political leader. And it's important to note here that he was not elected. So as of January this year, the mandate of the last remaining senators came to an end. So there are no elected members of the House, the Senate, or judiciary in Haiti. That's to say that Haiti has no functioning government. So similar to Jovenel Moïse, Ariel Henry is governing Haiti on his own. And the current situation that's happening there isn't allowing for elections to happen. But back when Ariel Henry in 2021 took this position as Prime Minister with the backing of the US, the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, and the former head of the UN, the current UN mission in Haiti, the Integrated Office, or BINU, Hélène Lalime, they were pushing for free and fair elections, but this was absolutely absurd because of such insecurity that was taking place back in 2021 and to the present day. And I've got here a quote from Pierre Espace, who is director of RMDH, where he said in an article, in such a violent lawless environment where no credible state institutions function, the situation which Moïse cultivated and which ultimately cost him his life, how could opposition candidates campaign safely? How could people turn up to vote and know that they will get home by? How could people trust the results? So the climate isn't actually, where I'm thinking in Spanish here, it's not favorable for elections to actually take place in Haiti at the moment. As I was mentioning, corruption has been rampant for a long time within the political system. And many, if not all, public officials and government workers never declared their assets and sources of income to the government, as stated by a recent report from the anti-corruption unit. Some politicians and public officials have used their positions of power to enrich themselves at the expense of the Haitians that they're supposed to serve. Many of these same individuals have actually recently been sanctioned by the US, by Canada, and to some extent the EU. And these sanctions can include actions such as freezing assets and travel bans. And we know that when these sort of sanctions are in place, they're intended to hold or present a picture of accountability and to stem corruption and deter others from engaging in corrupt practices. Additionally, many mayors actually falsified their educational backgrounds, committed fraud, money laundering, and essentially using Haitian taxpayers' money for the benefit of themselves. So that's the politics angle. And here I'm going to talk about, which I'm sure we'll come to in our discussion, insecurity and intervention. So insecurity and intervention. So Haiti is no stranger to intervention, unfortunately, either military or humanitarian. And Haiti is known as the Republic of NGOs, and we do have a briefing that talks to the proliferation of the NGO presence in Haiti. And we earlier saw slides of examples of where different countries have intervened in Haiti for various reasons throughout history. But insecurity, here, the word in Haitian Creole, I'm going to quote here from Erica James's article, Ruptures, Rights and Repair, the Political Trauma of Haiti. James writes, insecurity is an ontological, pernicious, and powerful state of routinized ruptures that plagues Haiti's efforts to consolidate democracy and create a climate of peace and security. So when we're talking about intervention now, last winter in October, just before the UN Security Council meeting, Ariel Henry officially authorized foreign military intervention aiming at a specialized armed force to stop criminal actions of armed gangs, right? So he was pushing the state of insecurity largely on gangs, which Tamlin is going to talk to in a while. So during this UN Security Council meeting, the Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, he asked, the rest of the members to consider Henri's request. And while there was initially support from the other members, countries are now rescinding on such an intervention because nobody actually wants to take the lead. And recently, I'm sure you've seen in the news that the US pushing for Canada to take the reins, but Canada, not wanting to do so, using the current and unfortunate war that's happening between Russia and Ukraine, saying that they're focusing on supporting Ukrainians, and essentially they don't have the military strength to help Haitians. And CARICOM here was really interesting because Jamaica, the Andrew Holness, the current Prime Minister, had said that Jamaica would be ready to help with the situation in Haiti, but again has retracted and has said that they don't want to take the lead on this. You may have heard of the Commission pour une solution haïtienne, which is the Haitian Commission for a Haitian solution to the crises that are occurring at the moment, or otherwise known as the Montana Accord Group, because there is a Montana Agreement. And this particular group consists of different civil society actors who are working on human rights, religious groups. We've got political parties involved in this group, agriculture workers, business people. So different sectors of Haitian society who came together producing a document, an agreement, to outline a plan for a transition to take place in Haiti, whereby there is a transitional government in the interim before Haiti can actually have free and fair elections to tackle the crises, the multiple crises that have happened. And they issued a statement rejecting foreign military intervention. And later on, I'll put in the chat a link to that particular agreement, and we can discuss in the question and answer, because there is a lot of tension as to, what do Haitians actually think? I can develop on this in the Q&A, but there are differences of opinions for those of us who are outside of Haiti, and those of us and Haitians who are actually on the ground experiencing the insecurity. So right now, I'm going to quickly talk to a bit of the economy in Haiti. It's unfortunately in disarray. Haiti's economy was already struggling before COVID-19, but the pandemic and pervasive violence has worsened fiscal development. So since the US occupation in 1915, most economic activity is centralized in Port-au-Prince, and this is where the bulk of insecurity and violence is taking place, hence hampering the economy. The textile industry, which is very important because it employs a lot of Haitians and is the country's largest employer, the sector is reducing jobs at record speed. One such factory recently cut 3,500 jobs. Inflation is on the rise and has been a major problem in Haiti, rapidly rising in recent years. And I remember when myself and Dr. Eve Hayes we went as part of the Haiti support group on mission to Haiti to meet with our partners back in 2015. And I remember thinking, it's really expensive here. And for those of us who travel to the Caribbean and, living in the UK, if you live on an island, you're generally importing a lot of things. And the Caribbean is known for being very expensive. But inflation in Haiti is anywhere between 42 to 48%. And imagine that for a country that is categorized as low income. The gourd, which is the local currency, is weak, and this is further contributing to the already high cost of living. And at global level, where we're all feeling the impacts of the cost of living crises, and an oncoming recession will only exacerbate things for Haitians. There is also the issue of brain drain, with Haitians not feeling secure in their environment and thus wanting to search for better opportunities. And we've seen the various news articles on Haitians trying to emigrate to other parts of the Caribbean, as well as to the US. And recently, countries in the Caribbean, such as the Turks and Caicos, have been dealing quite controversially with Haitian migrants there. Very quickly on climate and environment, at the beginning we were talking about the issues of climate change, which again we're all seeing and experiencing. No one country is being spared the effects of climate change. But Haiti has the unfortunate, has the double misfortune of sitting atop two major fault lines and lying between the Caribbean hurricane belt. So it faces significant environmental challenges that have only been exacerbated in recent years. Natural disasters, floods, deforestation, which is also human-made, soil erosion, among other things. I need not mention the earthquakes that have happened in recent years and various hurricanes. But to support Haiti in addressing these critical environment issues, international donors have contributed climate aid. And that is to say that Haiti is part of the Paris climate change agreement, despite only contributing very minimal amounts of greenhouse gases. And these international donors, the allocation of the funds may be suboptimal, with the bulk of resources being invested in making energy production more sustainable, while other environmental needs are underfunded. And here I'm drawing on Dr. Keston Perry's analysis in The Conversation, where he talks about Haiti's climate aid. So he mentions that the 1.1 billion that is contributed to Haiti's climate fund and provided by Switzerland, Japan, the World Bank, and the Inter-American Development Bank. They provide most of these funds as grants rather than loans. But despite this, the crowdsourcing of Haiti's climate budget makes it challenging to determine the exact amount of money available and how it can exactly be utilized. So consequently, Haiti's climate budget reflects a patchwork of donor priorities that overemphasize certain initiatives while neglecting other environmental needs. Moreover, the allocation of funds is characterized by a power imbalance, with international lenders exerting an unusual level of control over the country's government expenditures. So that's to say that, despite this big pot of funding that is allocated to Haiti, the transparency of where those funds are going is not clear, and Haiti is still continuing to suffer from climate shocks. And just very quickly, I'm going to end on talking about how these climate shocks affect women. And here I'm drawing on a piece written by IJDH that works with Haiti and between the United States, as well as a women's organization whose name I can't remember right now, but I will put in the chat box afterwards. So the phenomenon of climate change-induced displacement in Haiti has given rise to an increased vulnerability to violence against women, which is a matter of concern that requires careful attention. Displacement camps characterized by inadequate security, sanitation, and lighting pose a significant threat to the safety of women and girls, particularly in regards to physical and sexual violence. The occurrence of natural disasters such as earthquakes and tropical storms has resulted in numerous cases of rape, sexual harassment, and unwanted pregnancies, particularly among minors. Even without formal displacement, destruction of homes, neighborhoods, and family structures leaves women and girls with fewer protections and increased vulnerability to violence. The economic marginalization of women due to their unequal access to financial security and livelihoods also makes them more susceptible to harm and less able to recover from climate change impacts. So the argument in their paper was the failure to address gender inequality in disaster responses and climate shocks can have significant implications, including the sidelining of women's empowerment efforts and the regression of communities into old power dynamics and patterns of hierarchy that harm. And I'm just going to quote from a midwife called Jetani Maturin, who said, "We live in a country that cannot take 1 or 2 days of rain without turning to a catastrophe. I want to live in a society that respects the lives of everyone, a society that respects women's lives, my life, and my body." And this is taken from a recent UNFPA report that came out last week on the effects of climate change for people of African descent, especially women. And I'm going to leave it there because I believe that Tamlin has more information to us and paint a more vivid picture of what's happening on the ground in Haiti. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shadona. And before Timing comes in, I think it's just so important that you've raised our awareness about, the political situation and the economic situation in Haiti. And I'm sure there'll be lots of questions at the end of the two presentations. So without much ado, Timing, can you come in now and take the floor?
Thank you, Mr. Luke. Hello, everyone. And I hope so far everyone is in good health and in peace of mind, despite your personal and global advocacy. Thank you for having me here. Today, I want to discuss about the situation, the security situation in the country. Can everyone hear me correctly?
Yes, I think so.
All right, perfect. So I'll begin. It should be of no shock to anyone paying attention that the country is essentially controlled by gangs. Now, had it been any other year, and you say that, most people would automatically associate it to the government or to oligopolies or oligarchies. And till this day, it's still correct. But now we are talking about armed groups of primarily young men and boys from 15 to 21 years old, and with a noticeable impact of having younger people to be part of it. And they are profiting from an uncontrolled gun trafficking market and drug trafficking market. Now, oftentimes when we talk about gun trafficking in our part of the world, in the Caribbean, we basically know that most of these guns come from the United States. Well, a report from the UN concludes the same. And for anyone who have been following the news, especially the news coming from Florida, we do know that a lot of the guns do come from Haitian American sellers. But what's often not mentioned in these things is who are the suppliers. And I think that's also interesting thing to note if we want to stop this kind of problem in the country to begin with. Suspiciously, a high court has blocked an investigation about a gun trafficking ring within the country that would involve three different government agencies, one of public insurance, another of the police force, and another one that diverts to life insurance that is publicly paid. A high court has blocked the decision to continue with that investigation, and I think it's very problematic. Now, every single day, there are gang wars in this country. There are 200 and plus gangs operating in this country. Most of them are concentrated around the capital and its adjacent cities or towns, but they are also operating in the provinces, mostly and dangerously in our food sector province, which is Otsibonit, where most agricultures and farmers are residing and farm. We already have a climate crisis with an ongoing drought going on in the country. And now you have gangs exacerbating this, taking control of food stocks. And we are not really sure why, because it's not like they are reselling the food stocks for a profit. Most of the times what ends up happening is they burn the storage places and the houses of the farmers and agricultures. I'm sorry, trigger warning for anyone listening. There are dead bodies every day. And as a person who lives in a city adjacent to the capital, it has gotten to a point where I don't want to say we are numb, but not hearing about the discovery of a dead body or several dead bodies in a day would be a very strange day. This is our reality every day. Kidnappings have increased, and we had a recent record of 80 people being kidnapped in 2 days across the capital and its adjacent cities. Unfortunately, the gang members are finding new ways to target and kidnap people, faking being public transport chauffeurs, or being police officers, or being government agency workers, especially for electricity and things that generally ask you to invite people in, and they kidnap you. The most shocking one for me, and that was reported 2 days ago, was gang members having drones. This is not a joke, drones, to look into people's houses to see who they're going to target next. That one has been quite surprising to me because drones are not that accessible in the country. They cost a bit of money, and to use them require a certain knowledge that is not very well widespread throughout the country. So personally, it's making me question who is directing and financing these people. All right. The other reality is, and I want to say that especially for people who love to point out of a Haitian solution, our local police are overwhelmed. At the same time, they are not trained for this kind of situation, and they are not equipped to deal with it. And the biggest problem that our national police force has is they also are experiencing a brain drain while having informants being part of gangs. So, how can we talk about a Haitian-centered solution, especially one that Canada just agreed to, of sponsoring and financing a police force where there are informants, there is a brain drain. It went from 16,000 to 12 and 10,000 as we speak in a country of nearly 12 million people with 200 gangs armed with warfare artillery that we cannot handle. All right. We have to also talk about some of the biggest victims in this issue being women and girls, with disgusting and harrowing reports of assault, and the handicapped, or people who have become handicapped because of stray bullets, so on and so forth. There's also an unfortunate rise of burning bodies, particularly gangs who want to do revenge if a gang member is killed. I will take a very close and personal example. I live in a town that has nothing. It's generally a residential area. And we have known for a while that certain gangs had plans to come over and take the town. Um, some people in my town have decided to defend themselves, as they should, and they have killed a gang member. On the same day, a few hours later, gangs came over and burned 19 cars and shot people. 3 people died and proceeded to calcinate one of them. Okay. I will put into perspective the situation globally or overall in Haiti, and to give a sense of what is going on. So from January 1st of 2023 to mid-March, so 15th of March, 531 people were killed. I did not count till today, the 2nd of April. 300 people injured, 277 people kidnapped. Till 15th of March of this year, we have reached 40% of the total number of kidnappings that we had in 2020. And we are only in March, 15th of March, not counting April. We are just in the beginning of the year. There are so many internally displaced people that hotels that were struggling to keep business, had to accommodate them. I'm not really sure how that's working when hotels in the country are generally paid in US dollars and exorbitant fees. So I don't know what kind of negotiations had to happen, but now people would rather stay in hotels than in their cities, because most likely in their cities, their houses have been taken over by gangs or burnt down or whatever else happened that asked them to be displaced in the first place. Okay. Now we all know that in terms of the region, all of this is causing other pressures to other Caribbean countries. I will mention Turks and Caicos in particular because there have been a lot of Haitian refugees going there. And Turks and Caicos, from my understanding, is very small compared to us. And they don't seem capable to handle the situation. I won't even talk about the refugee situation in Mexico and in the United States, or at the southern border of the United States. So we are quite familiar that this has happened. This has been happening in a while, and the spike has only gone up. Okay. Now, the thing I want to discuss is a matter of difference of opinion when it comes to the necessity for an intervention or not, because this one is a contentious point. We have, despite everything, a proud population. We have proud advocates that in a better world, we should have had our autonomy, our sovereignty, and these problems would never come at the forefront because we would be a society that believes in collective good, that believes in wealth redistribution without the political and economic intervention of countries like the US or France or whatever else, these ultra capitalist countries, right? We don't live in that world. And for whatever reason, when you say that, it creates visceral reactions as if that's not the reality. It is. And the reality is, we are at that point because there are countries and there are internal actors who have done everything to sabotage us. And dare I say that they have succeeded. Because as Mrs. Kettle have said earlier, our brain drain has gotten to a point where we are missing doctors and nurses in a country where gangs are rampant. So people might be dying because there are not enough care workers to come and speak to them. We are missing police officers and all these other essential workers that should make our society at the very least function with the bare minimum of things. Then you have countries playing regional politics that promise one thing and that backpedal when it's time to actually do something. Okay. Personally, I have gotten to an understanding that governments, unlike people, don't really have solidarity with us to begin with. So to say that the backpedaling was shocking would be a lie. But to say that it was disappointing for the most part would be true. Now, is there a need for a form of intervention? The simple answer is yes. And if people in the diaspora disagrees, then I would invite them to come over and spend the rest of the year here and see how that goes. And none of them would ever do that. I would also posit this criticism to people who understandably have an issue with the history of imperialism in the country, just like we do in Haiti, but cannot seem to imagine the literal hell that we are living through every day, every single day, no matter where you step foot in this country. And a lot of people, especially me as a progressive myself and other progressive and leftists, will hate hearing that. But the reality is we need it. So then what should we do? Because as many have rightfully pointed out, there is a risk of, if it's imperialist countries that do it, there can be another form of occupation and exploitation. And I would like to say that even in this situation, how it has degenerated because we are already occupied fiscally, politically, because we are constantly living through the brunt of imperialism. But the thing is, right now, it's unbearable. And I am in a position of comfort saying this. So I can only imagine a person who doesn't have the luxury to sit down and think, who's just trying to survive. This person is going through way worse than I or any other comfortable political commentator or thinker within the country. So I don't even have an advice or anything to say, but just do what you will with that information. But understand that our context needs nuance. There can be different solutions, but we need help. We do. We need a counteractive force to what we are living through today. And in an ideal world, we would need accountability for suppliers of guns, for suppliers of drugs. We would need accountability for imperialist forces. That's all I can say about the current situation. And I'm willing to answer any question that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, for that heartfelt, informative, heartbreaking report. As one who has called for no intervention, you certainly changed my mind. And but it makes me think about what kind of intervention needs to happen in Haiti. And clearly it's, as you said, a nuanced situation, not easy, not one easy to resolve. With some of the progressives in the Caribbean have been calling for CARICOM and the Caribbean governments and countries to be more involved and to be directly involved in what is happening in Haiti and providing some solutions and support. And having said that, I know that even my country, Guyana, where I'm from, had excluded Haitians or deported Haitians or imprisoned some in Guyana, which is shameful. And I think we need to go back to the table, really, as Caribbean people, to look at how we're going to stop crying. How we will stop crying for Haiti and take action to actually do something about what is happening in Haiti. I'll open the floor to questions now. Thank you very much. There was a hand early on. I saw Jean Tate, but did you have a hand up? I'm not seeing Jean at the moment. Can we get Charlene to come in? Charlene, can you take the floor? Unmute.
Good
Charlie,
morning.
hi, Charlie.
Morning.
Welcome.
Morning, everyone. I'm not exactly very decent, but this is me, and then I'll go back to photograph. I'm a little concerned about the nomenclature that we're using, because my little understanding of the situation in Haiti is that we shouldn't be calling the forces at war with the Haitian people gangs. We should be calling them paramilitary forces, and they are deliberately created by imperialism to destabilize Haiti. I'm worried about gangs because I'm worried about the term, because people outside of Haiti, and maybe even within Haiti, are going to go away with the stereotype, like they usually do, that Black people can't govern themselves. And this is why white people have to keep coming in all the time. I don't mean to be offensive to the Europeans in the room. My daughter herself has a partially white father. So I'm saying this from a very political standpoint. The white countries want every excuse to go in. It is the continual resistance of the people of Haiti that are keeping them at bay. So could we discuss whether we need to say paramilitary forces and know that this is a force at war with the country in the Caribbean that liberated itself from slavery, therefore sending out messages to the rest of us. And our Caribbean leaders are learning very well. Their inaction, their lack of committedness, their confusion is testimony to how well they have been bought and sold.
Thanks very much for your question, Charlene. Should we have a response to that? Shidana or Tamin?
Yes, I will say generally in the country, within the country itself, we pretty much make it synonymous that the gang members that we have today are paramilitary groups. And I don't know if it's because we are a majority Black country, but we don't see it as a problem of we can't govern ourselves. Most people know that these groups, however you may call them outside of the country, if it really makes a difference, the aim is to destabilize and to traumatize. We don't have a problem with that. So if outside of the country, changing the term, would it make a difference? I mean, I guess, but it's still the result of white supremacy. In large part, are financed. They were first financed by oligarchs. So I don't know how consequential that is, but it might.
Thank you. Shadonna, did you want to say anything on that?
No, I think what Tamlin was saying was, I wanted to hear what Tamlin wanted to say to that action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. There's a few more hands up. So I will go to Joseph now. Charlene's hand is still up. Joseph?
Yeah,
Joseph,
so, yeah, I'll just put on the camera and then take it off so that people know I'm a real person. So, yes, I want to suggest that we consider a similarity with what happened in Somalia, where the Americans were involved, and then Somalia becoming what you call a governless or almost a non-state, and the difficulty they have up to now, even though with continued U.S. and Western involvement. So, but also to consider that the pattern of destabilization of Black civilization. Look what is happening in Trinidad. I know I see somebody from Trinidad there. What happened in Trinidad? But look what happened in St. Lucia. Look what happened in the other islands where violence has been used as a means to destabilize the society. Antigua, all of those places. So we think about that. But I understand the difficulty in which the person who responded to the last speaker about the usage of the word, and I don't know how we would solve that, but at least we will agree that violence is being used there as a tool, as a weapon. Is a weaponized political means to keep people together. Recently, I criticized the governments of CARICOM because we have allowed ourselves to be drawn into something that we have and that is not our concern, the war in Ukraine, by having the criminal Zelensky address CARICOM talking about rule-based law and so on. And we, rather than use that opportunity in NASA to address the serious problem, not by imposing solution, but by trying to work with Haitian forces to solve, to help remedy the problem. And then the islands of the Caribbean turning around and denying Haitians entry, including my own country, Grenada. Thanks.
Thank you, Joseph. Any more questions or comments? Or do you want to reply, Tamin? I see you've put your digit best. So let's get a response.
Yes, actually. If anyone is familiar with the term Somalization, and I cannot believe that it is actually a term, an academically accepted term, but that's the term that they're using for Haiti right now, and for very good reason. So I commend, was it Mr. Joseph that just spoke?
Yes. Joseph.
Yes, I commend him for even mentioning this, because that's the reference. When they talk about Haiti and when we observe Haiti, even we here, we use the term Somalization because the patterns are strikingly similar. So I would agree with that.
Thank you. I noticed in the chat somebody put forward a suggestion about whether some of the regional progressive governments could be called upon to form a force that can maybe intervene, mentioning Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, I think was one of the countries mentioned. But I think certainly, is something we can start to discuss, but I think first the pressure must go to CARICOM to take some action, and we need to galvanize our thoughts and, and see what pressure we can put, how we can raise that question with our governments in the region.
Come in here on CARICOM. So I was listening to a webinar the other day on the current crises in Haiti, and there was a representative of CARICOM in attendance, and what that person shared was that, when you come to diplomatic interventions, high-level dialogue, it's all formal, right? And as much as CARICOM might want to intervene, there also needs to be the kind of invitation on the part of the Haitian government. And with the suggestion of, you know, the countries like Cuba, Nicaragua, and other left-leaning countries, I mean, for us who are working in solidarity with Haitians, a kind of collaboration with these sorts of governments would, you know, would look good from our point of view, but the reality of the current governmental structure in Haiti looks unlikely, and with what it looks like, Haiti not collaborating with CARICOM, according to this particular representative, those kinds of discussions would be difficult. But I agree, because Haiti is, you know, it's in the Caribbean. It's the country that receives the most funding and soft loans compared to all the other CARICOM countries combined. Haiti is, you know, it's key. And there was a question here as to what, as to the precious minerals that Haiti has. Like, Haiti is, it's rich in natural resources. And I think in the last presentation I gave, I was talking about countries like Germany and Australia. Tamlin, do come in here if I'm wrong and if there's an update. Investing in mining activities in Haiti. So Haiti is very, you know, we know it's a geopolitically strategic country. So so while that path looks forward at the grassroots level and the high level diplomatic stance is something that we kind of have to wait and see how that plays out and what that leadership is going to look like in Haiti.
Yeah, thanks for that comment, Shudan. And I think it's important, you know, we keep focusing our minds. I think we're not going to come up with solutions here today, but certainly we need to be reminded about Somalia and the Congo, mineral-rich countries that, you know, it's in the state of the purposes of the imperialists to have those countries destabilized continually if necessary, because they continue to rob it at the cheapest possible rate without the people themselves receiving any benefits from those riches that are in the country. But I feel like this situation in Haiti, if it's delayed further or much further, the imperialists sooner or later will feel justified in intervening, and with the support of many people. So to avoid that kind of imperialist intervention, that is the usual story, we need to try and galvanize the progressive forces to see how they can relieve that desperate situation that is Haiti at the moment. We will continue this discussion on our executive, I can promise you that much. And I've got another hand up there. Ozzy, your hand has been up for a while, and then Angela Sherwood. So we'll have
my hand was up before.
Frank. Oh,
I've got to change the color of my hand then.
Yeah, your hand is a bit dark, Frank. It's faded into the background there. So maybe, sorry, Ozzy, I'll drop you out. Frank claims his hand.
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead, Frank.
Come in, Frank, and then Ozzy, and then Angela.
Yeah, you see, when I was listening to Shadona's contribution, a thought was going through my head to say, well, you know, because again, she's referring to gangs. And I'm thinking, is there like an imperialist connections to the gangs? Good. This is a point that Tamlin brought out. There is a connection. And I think that what we're talking about gangs, we are looking at it too simplistic. We can go in and clear up the gangs. But if like CARICOM sending a force to clear, they're fighting, actually, they'll be fighting the imperialist force. they'll be supplying them with weapons, etc., and we'll have a reverse Ukraine situation. You know, so I think we should change the narrative. We should be calling them paramilitaries or what, not gangs. Gangs is simply making it to us outside sounds very simple, as just as what's her name, Charlene said. We're just thinking it's, you know, unruly youths, you know, doing. But this, it is definitely a plot, and an imperialist plot to keep the people occupied. And you know, like I say, if CARICOM and any other forces step in there, it's gonna escalate, and who knows what happens next. All they want to do is to crush the place. So I think we have to be careful. Change the narrative. It's not gangs. It's paramilitary forces. So you know, outside we should know what's going on. Thank you.
I think, Tammy, do you want to respond there? I think you touched on that issue
Because
earlier.
I
You might need to
think,
strengthen it.
so my question to this is, so if we in Haiti, we call them gangs, it is problematic. Is it the assumption that if we call them gangs, we are agreeing with the white supremacist notion that we just cannot govern ourselves? If anyone really thinks that generally Haitians themselves, I don't care what outsiders think, to be quite honest with you. If people think that us using that term is us validating white supremacist points, that's not it at all. Their creation, for the most part, predates what is happening in 2023. Hence why they've been using that term. Some of them have been in these towns, particularly that's after the National Palace. If anyone has ever been to Haiti, we're talking about places like Matissa and Boutillier. They were there. They were unarmed. And that's where I want to bring up the point of capitalism in the country being a problem. Capitalism in and of itself is a product of white supremacy. I agree. But trust me, over here, whether you call them gangs or paramilitary groups, and I'm speaking in Haiti here, the terminology does not really matter because the consequence is the same. We have problems and we cannot fight them. Now, because I don't want this discussion to shift into what terms are appropriate instead of talking of what is happening, because we are deflecting, and I don't want to deflect. We have no time to deflect.
Cameron?
White supremacy.
Thank you there, Tamlin. Tamlin, thank you. I think you've made that point several times. And I feel, you know, you're on the ground and you know what is happening. And I would want to support what you're saying there. Ozzy, your hand was up next. You want to come in with your question?
Yes, yeah, thank you very much. And I really want to congratulate both Comrades Sedona and Tamin for such an excellent presentation of the information. I mean, I learned quite a lot from it. And of course, the very powerful and passionate presentation of Tamin. And I actually agree. I do want to kind of bring it back a little bit. So I have, this is such a heavy topic for us. And I think, Luke, your expression of emotions is felt by all of us, because for the progressive left, Haiti means so much. It means so much to us. So it is a heart-wrenching situation. And for those of us who are not there, it's really difficult to truly appreciate that fear that any minute someone will burst through your door and kill you for no reason whatsoever. So it's appreciated. I really just have three questions. And one is a spin-off from what something Tamin said that really stuck with me, which is the question of sabotage, destabilize it. Because Haiti has been sabotaged since its independence. They've been trying to sabotage it. So that's 200 years of sabotage in Haiti. And I totally agree with that. And I know because of the time constraint, I would like to hear a little bit more about, or a description of the forces that are behind that sabotage. I think it was mentioned in passing, but I think it's important to analyze that force in order for us to fight that force. And the second question is, I really want to move away from the gangs, paramilitary, and focus really on the mass movement instead. And would like to find out what is the state of the mass movement, all right? I really don't know in terms of how strong is it, how weak is it, who is driving it at the moment. I think it's important for us as progressives to understand the state of the mass movement. And the final thing is, I think it has expanded my thoughts around this no to intervention, but yes to what? So we say no to intervention, that's 3 words, kind of easy to say, but then yes to what? And I think that is what we want to say yes to. And I think coming out of both presentations from both Shidona and especially from Tamin, that there can be no doubt that Haitians can govern themselves. There's no doubt about that. But it's these forces that are out there that are in both outside and internally, because we cannot leave out the internal the internal bourgeoisie class within Haiti itself and its collaboration with imperialism. So I think it's just I would like to hear from both. What do you think we can say yes to? But again, I mean, to both of you all, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you, Ozzy. I'll give you a chance to answer both Tamin and also Shidona, if you want to.
Yeah, thank you very much for the commentary and questions, Ozzy. I guess I'm gonna talk to the mass movement. Despite not being there, the Haiti support group we're always in conversation with people like Tamlin and particularly Camille Chalmers and Colette Lepinas, who are very well known to the Haiti support group and have been with us since the beginning, essentially. But the core group, I think, that gets a lot of recognition is the Commission for a Haitian Solution. Now, again, Tamlin may have more information and her opinion on this, but I think that's the particular group that is getting a lot of recognition because it is a conglomeration of different facets of Haitian society. And to be honest, I am not familiar with the methods that were used in order to join this particular group. What I do know is that this group has been fundamental to proposing an alternative vision and prospect as to what repair and transition and transformation can look like for Haiti. And I did share a Facebook page of the office that monitors this particular group and shares the documents that this group comes out with, whether it's statements of rejecting an intervention, because what this group puts forward is that with representatives from these different facets of Haitian society, including different political leaders, right? Unfortunately, Ariel Henry has not been amenable to agreeing to this accord because of its alternative vision and because Haitian civil society and normal Haitians are having a say as to what their country looks like. Now, the information this group shares is in either French or Creole normally, and they do have a Twitter page, and I'm just going to write a name here for those of you who use Twitter to follow. Monique Plesta, who is part of this particular group and is usually a spokesperson in different fora talking to what this group is actually proposing. And so it's the yes to change, the yes to more voices in Haiti on the ground, your ordinary Haitians being part of politics, and no to this foreign intervention and amplification of white supremacy in a country as important, that is so important, that is Haiti, being, you know, the first Black republic. And again, as Luke was saying, and as I think we are all aware, us here in this Zoom room, of those who are going to watch on YouTube or are currently watching, we cannot come up with, you know, we're not going to come up with solutions in this particular call. Haitians themselves have been in this dialogue, as we know, been taking to the streets for years for a change. And I think what this particular Commission for a Haitian Solution is proposing, and what I think other people now are promoting, is the fact that the solution, whatever it's going to be, will and must come from Haitians themselves, because they can govern themselves, because they have governed themselves. But over the centuries, we've been seeing these different interventions, occupations, as we were talking about language, whereby you have external forces essentially pulling the puppet strings. No, yeah, I guess that's what I have to say on that matter.
Good, thank you, Shadana. Tamin, you want to add anything more there?
My analysis would be that it's basically systemic at this point, because we have a particular socioeconomic system that at its very basis encourages for this type of situation to happen. And we are seeing what happens when it goes unchallenged and embraced by very few individuals who are a part of a powerful group. And we are seeing what happens when also it is used by external powerful forces who see us as just another place of extraction. I think mining was mentioned many times here. And like the DR, who exports 1.1 billion US dollars of gold, we also export gold. Probably not as much, but I think many corporations wish they could take that much or more and basically pay nothing to have access to it. I do believe that under Duvalier-ism, so the former dictatorships that we had, they had access to gold and other resources. Bauxite, I know bauxite was mentioned being one of them. So it's you know, if it's still considered as a conspiracy that neoliberal capitalism wishes to suck up everything, not just from Haiti, but from the Caribbean as a whole, I would think that we are way past the notion of it being a conspiracy. It's just a fact. That's what I will say to that.
Okay, thank you, Tamin. We've got 3 more questions, 4 more hands up in the air. It's Angela next, and then Giorgio, and then Charlene, and then we're back to Ozzy. Okay, Angela, you want to put your question up?
Yeah, hi. I just want to say thanks so much to both of you. It was, really great to hear from both of you. And I think in terms of Tamin in particular, I think when those of us, engage in direct actions or, write about Haiti, we very much want to take a steer from people who are actually, in Haiti and who have lived experiences that we want to sort of inform the kinds of actions that, we're taking. So that way we're, very much in lockstep with what Haitians need and what Haitians want. And I think you outlined in just incredible terms this tension between, immediate needs not to be harmed, immediate needs to be able to live life, and these structural problems that are at the very root of violence, economic violence, ecological violence, etc. So just in that kind of context, I was hoping to maybe get your thoughts in particular about what, how do we use our own power, the power that different, academics or activists have outside of Haiti. How do we actually use this in support to finding that middle ground between these different needs? I mean, you talked a lot about intervention and the need for, some kind of stability. And I know that, you mentioned as well that a lot of progressives don't like this term for obvious reasons, because it's very connected with violence. There's absolutely complete impunity that comes with intervention, and of course with cholera and everything else that we saw in the last intervention. We know that violence sort of begets violence when you talk about interventionism. So I was just wondering, are there other terms that maybe we could be using that would somehow address those root causes of insecurity, other languages that we could use maybe or actions that we could be mobilizing for that address those root causes of insecurity without sort of using that language of intervention, and understanding that what we want is something that's obviously longer term, and something that's Haitian led. But if we sort of bend to kind of interventionism, we know we sort of move power into, it can kind of consolidate power in the social forces that are already creating lots of instability in Haiti.
Thank you, Angela, for your question. I don't know who would like to come in, reply, Tamin, Shidona?
Yes. Oh, Shadona, would you like to reply?
It's you, Tamin. You come in.
Okay. So then I'll do it. If we do not want to say intervention, maybe we should say military assistance. That's one, for better language. Second, the best thing that you could do is to actually participate in your democratic processes if you think that you have one in your respective country, so that you elect people that will not advance a predatory foreign policy. Because a lot of what we are victim of today is because of foreign policy. And the job of foreign policies of many big countries is to advance neoliberal extraction. It is to continue to impose imperialism. So in your own countries, if there are really, truly progressive candidates and progressive elected officials, put them in position of responsibility, because they will be as educated and as informed as you to take the right initiative when it comes to these things. That's one thing you can do in your realm. The second thing is to keep informing yourself and to prioritize what is important. So you are informed in international relations, for example, get informed in international political economy, get informed in white supremacy, and that one can be very uncomfortable. Get informed in imperialism, get informed in religious supremacy, get informed in all of these things in power that makes it a point to subjugate and to exclude others and to keep them in misery. Because when you will spot the problem, then when there's a discussion of potential solutions, you will have the nuanced opinions and you will support what is the right thing to do. So that's the best that you can do individually. But the goal should always be, when you're done individually, to make it a societal or a community initiatives afterwards. That's what I can say to that.
Thank you so much, Tamin. We fight where we are with what we have, for sure. We got two more with Giorgio. You want to come with your question? You need to unmute, Giorgio. Giorgio, you need to unmute.
Yes, I'm here. Okay.
Good. Welcome.
Okay. I belong to an organization called Payday Men's Network. We work with the Global Women's Strike, and the co-founder of the Global Women's Strike is Selma James, who was married to C.L.R. James. And I believe that in my organization, we have some, I've never been to Haiti, okay? Let's put it that way, very frankly. But we, in the past, have been picketing the Brazilian embassy in London for 3 years, once a week, trying to get Brazil to help find a Haitian organizer called Lovinsky Pierre-Antoine, who was disappeared. And we stopped just because the earthquake happened in Haiti. And at that point, the idea that we could actually find Lovinsky was not practical anymore. But that's the kind of thing that we've been doing in terms of related to Haiti, apart the stuff that Margaret Prescott in the United States, Los Angeles, does with the, sorry, let me get something out. I'm sorry, hold on a second. I have something to quote in my handshake because I'm old. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Giorgio.
We've been supporting Aristide both times after both coups, okay? And we want to concentrate on something that I thought was also the theme of the webinar, which is the reparation for slavery. And Aristide was the one who highlighted that France owes 21,685,571,000.48 pence to Haiti. Okay, and in fact, there is a statement from the France ambassador to Haiti at the time, Thierry Burkhardt, who said in an interview that France and the United States has effectively orchestrated a coup against Aristide. And that his abrupt removal was probably a bit about his call for reparation from France too. And it made our job easier to dismiss the reparation claims without Aristide in office. So, and that's from the New York Times on the 5th of May 2022. So I wonder, since this movement, international movement for reparation, which is connected obviously to the Black Lives Matter, etc., since this movement is growing, and the Guardian, you must have been known that they're coming out with big rumors that we should pay back for the ones who had profited for slavery should pay back. Okay, and I was wondering, would that help Haiti if we internationally would push, as we are, for reparation against slavery? Would that be interesting? And the other thing is this: I'd like to know what women are doing, because we didn't, they were mentioned, but I would like to know more about the organization, because in our experience, women are the backbone of every movement in practical. So much so, for instance, that we publish and circulate a letter of Russian mothers against Putin to call for the troops to be withdrawn from Russia and for their children, husbands, brothers to come back. So, two questions. One is reparation from slavery, which is big, is a big movement, and it's big money. Second, the women's role in all this. Thank you.
Thank you, Giorgio. And also thanks for, we know Selma and your organization, wages for housework and
Yeah.
women
Look,
in
and we've
global
known each
south.
other forever, right?
We can always count on you to support anything that we're doing on Haiti, and we're very grateful that you turn up to those pickets and those meetings. But I leave the replies to those questions about reparations to maybe to Shadonna, if you want to take that up, or yes.
Yeah, sure. I can start because that's the content of my PhD research, and Haiti was going to be one of my case studies, but because of the current situation, it's not practical for me to unfortunately carry out field research. So my focus is actually Ecuador and Jamaica. So the reparations claims evidently start with Haiti and the CARICOM unit, which is made up of 15 states, Caribbean community. You know, they are leading the charge from the Caribbean, and Haiti is a part of CARICOM, and initially was part of the conversations regarding, you know, as part of the CARICOM claim back in 2013, being part of the subcommittee chair that would help or assist in the different countries installing national reparations committees. But with the changes of government, the participation on that side of things has faded into the black, unfortunately. But when Aristide made the claim for restitution, restitution of that $21 billion back in 2003-4, he started talking about it in 2003 on the anniversary of the Bataille de Vertienne, I'm saying it right. And you know, the celebration of the bicentenary brings it up again, and you know, essentially afterwards is ousted from politics. You know, his focus was actually on the getting that money back, essentially the restitution of those $21 million. And as I mentioned in my presentation, that was the amount that was claimed 20 years ago. And I can't remember who did the study. Once I find that paper again, you know, this person estimated that those funds go up by $34 per second 20 years ago, guys. So that amount of funding, you know, is substantially higher now. So Haiti is very central to those demands. And what I was interested in was looking at what those conversations look like today. And, you know, when we're looking at reparative justice, people have different perspectives as to what repair looks like. The focus could be on financial compensation. It could be on psychological rehabilitation, which is part of the CARICOM 10-point plan on reparation. It looks different to everybody. And, you know, when I started early conversation, people were talking, you know, what I was told was, yes, the 21 billion debt that is owed to us is always there in the background. We're kind of focusing on the repair that needs to be done now. On the contemporary issues, yes, we know about the structural, you know, the structural apparatus that is behind our demands, which funnels into why we are where we are today. So that's where that reparative conversation kind of stands today. I'm sure Tamlin will come in on this. And regarding women, so where I was talking about towards the end of my presentation, how climate change affects women, that report was in collaboration with the, I said IJDH, which is the Institute for Justice and Democracy in Haiti, Neges Marron, which is a Haitian feminist organization, and the Global Justice Clinic. And there are other women's organizations in Haiti as well. There's Pascal Solage, who is part of L'UPAP Dormi. There's Emanuela Douillon, who is an economist in Haiti. And also in the last conversation that CLS had on Haiti, you invited Valerie to talk about the situation. So that women's voices are very much at the forefront of these conversations on historic injustices and what repair can look like and needs to look like for Haitians now. So that's my point.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much for those answers. Now we've got 2 hands up. Those will be the last 2 questions we can take. We're fast running out of time. I'd like to give you Tamin and Shadona, a minute to sum up after these 2 questions. So if we can keep your questions short, I'll go to Charlene now. Or Russ has disappeared. Charlene.
Right, I'm not going to really be long at all, except to say Sister Shadona has already attended a meeting by Zoom that the Guyanese Haiti support group had. And if there is some way we can keep the connection so that we on this end don't feel so isolated, because the hostility of our immigration authorities has actually caused an exodus of the Haitians. And I think they're still holding about 60-something passports reputedly for deporting. And so the Haitians in Guyana don't wait. They simply leave, cross the borders without their passports. There's a lot of atrocities in terms of human rights violations against Haitian people. And, it's a group of women in the Haiti support group. And we do have one lawyer, Melanie Aline, who is a Jamaican, who gives us as much support as she can. There's actually a case that's hopefully going to be going to the CCJ very soon, taken by 2 Haitians for the first time for the longest while. We've been trying to get Haitians to stop and say, no, we are going to confront this at the CCJ. We finally got 2 parents to stand up and do so. But I would love to be able to keep a way of keep connecting so that we can reach out. We have people willing to work, but we don't know how. We feel helpless, really, to be honest with you. I'm constantly in touch with Haitians, both in Haiti and on the ground in Guyana, but we feel there's a kind of utter helplessness. And it's, our governments are hostile. The borders, which are drawn by Europeans, by imperial Europeans, not every European, are against the nature of who we are, because we have never had borders. We have a situation on the Venezuelan border to Guyana where the Warao people are coming over as refugees, but they're actually serving to strengthen our own Warao people. So there's a sense of borderlessness. I know I'm going on, but
okay.
The Caribbean needs to understand that there are no real borders when it comes to African people. Yeah. And somehow we are still working within these frameworks of nation state, and they're absolutely genocidal at this point. I'm sorry, but I'm speaking out of a sense of hopelessness.
Yeah. Okay, thanks very much, Charlene. I think maybe let's get connected again with CLS and let's see what action we can take in terms of Guyana and in terms of CARICOM. We need to join all forces and work as one team, really, if we're going to be effective. So please, we will be in touch with you after this meeting, for sure. Now, I'll give between Shadona and Tamiento 1 minute to sum up, and then we can thank you both for this really, really wonderful presentation and meeting that's been happening. Shadona, you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, I'll quickly again say merci en ville for the invitation to share with you today, and a special thanks to Tamlin for joining me, because I thought it was very important for us to have a Haitian voice sharing with us, of the younger generations as well, I would say, because usually we are used to listening to the same voices all the time. So thank you very much to Tamlin. And, the information that we both shared is important, it's real. And as I mentioned, the intention was to, not to essentialize. The information is, it paints the reality of what's happening in Haiti on the ground. And it's emotional for those of us, who aren't even there, and want to show our solidarity with our Haitian brothers and sisters. The truth is really impactful. And, I think this really does continue the conversation on repair and what that looks like for Haiti. It's going to be an ongoing conversation that I'm sure that we're going to contribute to. So, we're now aware of Tamlin, so and other individuals and organizations that are here. So once we keep these lines of communication open and sharing different ideas on what we can do from our own standpoints, I'm looking forward to that collaboration. So thank you very much again for the invitation, and I'll hand over.
Thank you so much. Tamin, you want to come in now, and then we'll do a chair at the end.
Well, firstly, thank you for inviting me. I know my response or my presentation even felt most likely personal. So I am unable to detach what's going on and how it affects me or my close ones. So if anyone was a bit put off by that, I apologize in advance. But I think most people who will have the conversation about Haiti at one point, they will break character and posit the problem this way because it's extremely urgent. If there was a better word than urgent, I would use it. I don't know it at the moment. Thank you for paying attention, for listening. Thank you for the questions and the commentary because, well, I always can do better. And the questions are very eye-opening to the perspective of people around the world. So I'm very thankful about that. And that's all I have to say. Just there's nothing else.
Well, thank you.
Stay informed.
Thank you so much, Tamin. I'm sure people will join me in clapping or putting their hands in the chat or wherever to say thank you so much for a really wonderful, informative meeting, heartfelt. And I think you brought alive really, the feeling on the ground in Haiti, and that's so important, I think, for all of us. I can only say, I hope we stay in touch. CLS will be doing whatever we can up here in the UK in raising awareness, in raising protests, in following your lead, and we will be in touch with you. And so thank you very much for speaking at this meeting. And thank you, Shadona, for finding time to introduce us to her so that